Welcome back to Nerdium. I'm your host, Matt, and to my left is my co-host, Cary. This is our big 10th episode, and it's hard to believe that we've been talking nerdy to you for over 10 episodes, but here we are in the double digits. In this episode, Cary and I review Pacific Rim Uprising, the robot movie where the science is made up and the plot doesn't matter. Be warned, if you haven't seen this yet, this episode is spoiler-filled. So Cary, when you're ready, initiate neural handshake and let's drift into this episode.
Buy everything you've got!
Alright, so last week, Cary and I went and saw Pacific Rim Uprising.
Not by choice. Not by choice.
This is supposed to be Ready Player One. We had a little technical issue with the...
Was Steve trying to book our tickets?
Yeah.
And then Steve booking us on a Wednesday and not the Thursday that we specifically told him to?
Exactly.
Fair enough. Okay.
Anyways, so we decided to go see another fun, exciting movie to watch.
Good popcorn movie.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be any Oscars or anything like that.
No, I mean, unless Oscars start getting the giant monster, giant robot category, in which case it's a shoo-in. I'd vote for it.
I want that category now.
So do I. I think it's a much deserved and much needed category, too.
So, Pacific Rim Uprising, it's got a couple new characters. Doesn't have the Charlie, what's his name, Huntman from Pacific Rim 1.
The main character?
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy there.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I couldn't even remember it.
Yeah.
The only one I remember is Idris Elba in this because I could stare at him all day long, so I'm good on that.
All right. And this time we have John Boyega from the new Star Wars trilogy.
John Call Me Finn Boyega?
Yeah, and the son of Clint Eastwood, Scott Eastwood.
Is he the son of Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it, but that's because Clint Eastwood looks like a piece of chewed leather that's walking around always angry.
Yeah, if you look at really young pictures of Clint Eastwood, you kind of see it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I can kind of see it there, sure.
So, actually, what I also noticed was John Boyega also produced this one. He was a producer on it.
Oh, did he? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there's a couple things that he made changes for. He didn't like how the robots fought in the first one, so he actually hired the fighting choreographer from the new Star Wars trilogy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, fun little fact.
They did fight very fluidly this time around, I guess, if you could describe their fighting style.
Yeah, they didn't move more as mechanical as they did in the first one, which you kind of expect a giant, heavy, massive robot to be moving like. Instead, they're dancing around Tokyo like it's nothing.
Yeah, well, at the cost of Tokyo, they're dancing around Tokyo like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It also has the return of Charlie Day and Byrne? Is that his name? Byrne Gorman?
Yeah.
As Dr. Newton and Dr. Herman, respectively.
Yeah.
It was always good to see them.
Yeah,
I like a good little bit of continuity with my characters once in a while.
Yeah, if you're going to like kind of toss it the main characters, it's good to have the background kind of comedic relief characters there at least still.
Well, it's especially since like they've kind of written Idris Elba out of it. They do the Independence Day resurgence where, hey, look at a picture of Will Smith. Remember Will Smith? He was in the first movie, and they more or less do the same with this one with Idris Elba, only they make it clear that John Boyega is his son, and he's living in Dad's shadow and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah. Didn't he... I haven't seen the first one in a while. Didn't he actually die, though? Like, he went through the rift and then blew himself up down there?
Yeah, it was
okay.
his... he went in there with the express purpose of closing the rift. He did the Independence Day. He gave the speech and then took off down and then detonated his bomb.
It wasn't really the Will Smith then. It was more of the president there.
Yeah, but when you see Independence Day Resurgence, they kind of show a picture of Will Smith as a, hey, remember Will Smith?
Yeah. Unfortunately, you didn't actually see Will Smith die in that, though.
No, I know. Would have made a good death.
Would have. But anyways, back to Pacific Rim.
Before we get too carried away on getting rid of Will Smith.
Yeah. You know what would be actually interesting is if rumor has it's going to be a trilogy, especially how it ended.
I've heard the trilogy story.
Yeah.
And I've also heard tying it into the Monsterverse with Godzilla and King, like the new Godzilla and King Kong movies coming out.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
I've heard talk because I mean it's at its heart it's a Godzilla movie.
Yeah. Right.
Like it's the giant monsters. Let's go mess with the giant monsters and deal with the giant monster movie.
Yeah.
So I've heard I think it was one of the producers that was kind of waxing poetic on where it could go. I think it's a big stretch. I think there's two completely different franchises.
Yeah.
I remember Godzilla beating up a lot of robots in like the old movies.
Yeah.
None of which were the giant robots from Pacific Rim.
Yeah, the Jaegers. Interesting name.
Yeah.
But how it ended with this one kind of really led on that there's going to be a third one. And you get young Pentecost there saying that this time they're going to bring the fight to their world. What I think would be interesting is if they go over there and then you find out that Idris isn't dead, or there's a clone of him that's now like their leader. That'd be kind of a neat little twist.
I could see them doing a twist like that.
He's a character, or an actor I'd like to see him come back to the series, even though they killed him.
Yeah, I could see how they might be keeping him in on, let's call it keeping him on ice, just to mess with his, tie up his brain, because in all of these movies, like, the big thing is the mental handshake, or whatever they call it there.
The drifting.
Yeah, so we have that technology in this movie where we can tie into each other's minds, and they play it off in the first one with Gessler guys, Dr. Newton, because him and the other doctor tie into one of the kaiju brains. Mm-hmm. That's how we know about where they come from, what's going on. We got to close the portal, that whole thing. And they move through this, they tie it into this one as well. So if there's such an advanced species in another dimension that's broken into ours, who's to say they couldn't have captured Idris Elba, tied him down, and then started linking into his brain? Yeah, exactly. Find out what he knows, find out, how to do this, how to deal with humanity on a whole.
I found that this one really did kind of play out like an after-school Rock'em Sock'em Giant Robot Fighting Aliens TV show.
Yeah. Well, I kind of liked how they open up with a good little bit of exposition where we're kind of like moving forward after the initial kaiju war. There's a lot of cool visuals with like the skeletons all over the place and all that sort of stuff, and they make it clear that this is pretty much going to be a Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of not surprised with what they did, where maybe a third of the way through the movie, just as we're all celebrating the greatness that we all are, and the Jaegers are pretty much now just honor guards that are just there to look pretty and do a little bit of landlocked police enforcement here, there, and everywhere. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, this random Jaeger shows up and just starts messing shit up.
Obsidian Fury.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, there's this. We have that robot on robot conflict instead of the robot on monster conflict. Mm-hmm. So I think it was kind of an interesting twist where they went. They're very much a Rock'em Sock'em Robots thing.
Yeah, it was kind of just a natural evolution of where they could go with it.
Well, I couldn't think. Like, if all of a sudden they started opening up more and more riffs and be like, more monsters, more fighting, more movie.
Yeah, it almost kind of started going that way until they were like, just kidding.
We'll get to that in a minute. That was, I was about to get real angry at the movie. But it is really, really cool. I kind of like how we eased into the giant robot thing. We talked about John Boyega's character does a good little bit of exposition at the beginning, as he's living the party life that we all dream when our father's a very, very famous, let's call him rock star-esque sort of personality.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, he's kind of living in, as he said, half the mansion there when he's doing his exposition. It's better, like, the world's a little different. There's the kind of the abandoned zones now where there's these luxury mansions that have been abandoned. And
Which was cool, because there's really no way, like in some aspects, what surprised me is how well humanity has rebuilt itself.
Yeah.
But also how piss poor they've rebuilt themselves. Like, you would think with these monstrous robots that could move a building with nothing, just no strain whatsoever, we still have a lot of, as cool as the visuals are, giant skeletons all over the place. Like, you'd think they would have cleaned that up a little bit. These mansions that... I mean, do you get kaiju insurance in this universe? Seems to me like you get kaiju insurance, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's not an act of God. It's a giant lizard reptile monster that stomped all over my house.
Yeah, no, there's got to be a policy somewhere for that.
But it is that was like at the very beginning with that little bit of like cool narrative exposition. It was like, we have giant robots that could easily clean up a lot of this mess.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, like you said, fallen into these no-go zones of just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. It's just like little pockets of Las Vegas everywhere all over the Pacific Island.
Yeah, and his little exposition scene there was good to kind of set up why they're still building the Jaegers, why they're still around, why they're not decommissioned. Like, there's no threat anymore. Because he mentions that there's the Jaeger scrapyards that people are busting into to steal Jaeger parts to try and build their own Jaegers.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the rogue Jaegers are prohibited, and that's kind of why the Jaegers are doing their inland patrols still.
Yeah, but they've really just been kind of relegated to even the Pacific Police Department. I forget their actual name. They're just kind of delegated as just rogue Jaeger cleanup.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, you don't have a license to operate this monster machine, so we kind of got to shut you down. Yeah. And I mean, I get it. That. If tomorrow we had giant robots and then everything just fell to ruin, you'd have the people that would be building their own. I mean, we have people that build their rockets just so they can prove that the Earth is flat. So, I mean, hey, why not?
You went there.
I did go there.
Okay. So, part of me kind of wished that rocket exploded.
Oh, you and me both, man. That would have made a great video.
How can somebody make their own rocket and still think the Earth is flat? Like,
hey, man. I don't know how people believe half the stuff they believe. I really don't know how he thinks he's going to get high enough where he can be like, totes flat. It's all a big scope for like, the big conspiracy theory because big globe is out to get you.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Pacific Rim. So I found out it was kind of almost like, just watching it really came across like it was written by 12-year-olds.
There was a cartoon on Fox at night, Fox HD or whatever it was called. Okay. It was like a cop show, an animated cop show that was literally written by like a 7-year-old. And the dialogue in this movie is on par with that. It's not really, but I mean, we kind of mentioned this at the beginning. This isn't a movie where it's like, oh my God, you gotta see this. Yeah. In my personal opinion, it's a movie that plays well on a big screen. Like if you got some money in your pocket and you're looking for just like a cheap, noisy, turn your brain off and coast for a while movie, this is a great movie for that. Mm-hmm. If you want to go see something that's hard hitting and really gives you the feels and really keeps you at the end of your seat, this is not the movie. No. It is really kind of like a paint by the numbers monster mash.
Yeah, it's a movie you can't and shouldn't overthink.
No. Don't go looking for depth. Yeah. Don't go looking for hidden layers, any hidden meaning. It really is a from John Boyega's character stance of, I'm tired of living in my dad's shadow. I'm going to go party with all the cool kids down at the beach. Oh, I'm back in the military suddenly, so I might as well pull my shit together and
become a war hero.
And become a war hero again. It's so, in some aspects, it's almost pedantic as to how it kind of like, you almost know what's going to happen. Yeah. And it's not even because of good foreshadowing. You just know it's going to happen. Yeah. It is inevitable. And that kind of brings me to one of their key plot points is the Shao industry creating the automated Jaegers. Mm-hmm. Get the pilots out of there. They're going to have their own robotic brains. And, oh, isn't this just ticky-dicky-boo? And that kind of brought us to the point in the movie where I'm pretty sure I would have ripped my seat out and thrown it at the screen. And that's when the predictable happens, when lo and behold, suddenly all these automated robots start acting up and getting out of hand. And
you never see that too often in movies where the robots don't behave like they should.
Yeah, really. It was a real plot twist I could never have seen coming. I've never seen a movie like it. But then, of course, they're acting up, and it's found out that Dr. Geisler there has been linking his brain with the old kaiju brain that he had, and he's created a backdoor to infect the system. And there's no way... you and I talked about this. The one thing they did good was hiding the protagonist. Mm-hmm. Up to a certain point.
You mean the antagonist?
The antagonist, yep. Because
I
I sure said protagonist. So
I did that on one of the other episodes.
Yeah. So he, if they hadn't dipped their card to that, I was convinced that the Xiao industry was just up to no good. Yeah. Because the head of Xiao is not a nice woman. She is. No. Oh, she is an ice queen, man. Yeah. The theater clearly got cold when she was on camera.
Yeah. I would have never put any money on It Was Always Sunny in Tokyo being the bad guy.
You're right. Exactly. But sure enough, Dr. Geisler is all kinds of infected because he's been linking up with Sweet Love with the kaiju brain. and of course, he's helped the kaiju brain link into these drones. And of course, the drones go shit crazy because you got to have a plot point. Mm-hmm. And then they all end up in the ocean, and lo and behold, they start drilling a new portal because you got to have a couple of giant monsters instead of giant monster skeletons all over the place. Yeah. And this is where I thought the movie was going to end because, okay, sure enough, after all kinds of fuckery, they lock it down. Yeah. They finally figure out how to turn the drones off and close the portal, and yay, humanity for the win. And I was so sure that's where it was going to end. And if it had ended there in such a cheap little throwaway point, I was going to be so furious.
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, it was almost like a television wrap-up point.
It would have, exactly. It would have made a better TV episode if that was where they ended. I couldn't quite see my watch, and I was trying to like one eye on the screen and one eye down to my watch to see just how long we've been sitting here. Fortunately, that is not the end of the movie. Fortunately for my theater seat, it was not the end of the movie.
That was a nice theater seat too.
It was very comfy theater. The thing you sit on in the movie theater.
Theater seat. Yeah. No, I remember after watching the movie, I kind of did a little bit of research on it and was seeing some of the reviews. And you get those reviews where people are saying, like, I went into this movie expecting so much more and left disappointed. It's like, it was as advertised. Like, before going in, you didn't have to see a trailer for it. You just had to see the movie poster and go, that's as deep as the movie's going to go. I'm going to go watch the robot slug it out. I'm not looking for a romantic development in the movie. I'm not looking for any drama.
I don't know what you could possibly have expected from a sequel of a movie that was specifically about robots fighting giant monsters. I don't even know what kind of acting you expect to receive from that. Like, as a kid watching the Godzilla movies, I was not offended that the military vehicles were dinky cars being pulled by fish wire. Like, this did not bother me. It was a giant man in a rubber lizard costume kicking over cardboard buildings. Yeah. The acting quality nor the special effects bothered me. I knew what I was getting into. Mm-hmm. And same with this movie. When we walked into the theater, we just kind of knew what we're getting. Yeah. It's, like we said earlier, it's not going to be hard-hitting dialogue. And it's not going to be Oscar-worthy until we get that category that we want.
And my next point is, let's talk about Jaeger names. Like, just some of the names they rhymed
out. There's an engine on the internet that creates Jaeger names.
I saw that.
And it's got to be, and I haven't seen it. It's just even the producer's got to be using this. It's just like spit out two random cool sounding words and boom, Jaeger name.
Like this movie, we got November Ajax, which is kind of, he gets played up right at the beginning. You're like, oh man, that's kind of a cool Jaeger. The pilot sounded like he's kind of a tough guy. You're kind of like, oh, that's kind of be kind of cool. He's, at one point, he makes kind of a light-hearted comment when what's the little robot?
Oh, Scrapper.
Oh yeah, he makes the comment at Scrapper when it's running away. Like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's gonna be a kind of an interesting character to bring in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never see him again.
No, that's what we said before. The Jaegers, that particular Jaeger was just relegated to just like a Jaeger roundup squad, rogue Jaeger roundup squad. He is essentially a Jaeger for the police.
Yep. And then you got Pentecost Jaeger, the protagonist Jaeger, Gypsy Avenger, which is kind of, I guess, the spin-off of Gypsy Danger from the first one. Yep. Then you got all kinds of other ones like Shaolin Rogue, Saber Athena, Titan Redeemer, Valor Omega. Those are just a couple to rhyme off.
After a while, you just get beat over the head with some of these, like, they sound cool at the beginning, kind of like how some beers might taste good at the first sip, and then by the time you're halfway through the can, you're just like, wow, there's still more beer left here. and some of these names, it's just like, man, can we just have this like a call insignia? Just let's just give them numbers from now on, because it starts to the cool factor of these names starts to wear off quickly.
And there's no war anymore, so there's not going to be like the war hero names. It's going to be literally like patrol numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Basically giant model numbers strapped onto the ass of the Jaegers, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. Just cross the ass like Juicy.
Yeah. Ooh, Jaeger sponsorships. I like it.
There you go. Yeah. You get, it's like NASCAR.
Pretty much.
You get a Jaeger right there with a big Tide logo across the front.
Oh,
Tide
nice.
pods.
Just big "Don't chew them" sticker on the bottom of it.
Yeah. But then they name all their kaijus and their bad guys. And so I guess this time they finally got to name an enemy Jaeger, and they went with Obsidian Fury, because that's a pretty badass name for a Jaeger. But
it was a pretty badass Jaeger.
It was a pretty badass Jaeger. It was like the Batman of Jaegers. It was kind of the black.
It was black and then red in all the right places. Like it had that like weird flame thing going on all over its back and front arms. It had the right amount of accents. It did look like a really cool Jaeger.
Yeah, it looked like an Alienware gaming PC almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with that, one of the things that I also noticed in the movie was just the questionable science. And I know we just discussed how you shouldn't overthink this movie, but there's a couple of points in that movie where you're just like, but why?
This is a movie where two people meld their minds together to work a giant robot. Just before you continue with your point, I'm just going to remind you of that point there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's, once again, you shouldn't overthink this movie, especially when it gets to the science, because it does seem like it's written by 12-year-olds, and from a 12-year-old's grasp of science, how it works. Kinda.
Or it's designed to appeal to a 12-year-old whose grasp of science is what it could be.
Well, that just seems dangerous.
Could be, depending on what kind of chemistry set you have, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but you are right. You're for some reason mind melding two minds together for no real apparent reason.
Apparently, you seizure out if you try to do it yourself.
It looks really cool choreographed.
Yeah, that it does.
You got two of them hip hop dancing inside of a cockpit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but your questionable science. What is one of the questionable sciences that you have that you would like to address here?
There's a couple. One that I'll just touch on one that kind of comes to mind right off the top is the re-entry of Gypsy Avenger. You clearly see that his faceplate is busted up and they're exposed.
So of all the things, as we kind of like fast forward through the plot, there is a point in time where we need to get the Jaegers somewhere far, somewhere fast. Mm-hmm. And this is one. There's so many like really weird pop-up plot points in this movie, and of course, strapping a rocket to the ass of the Jaegers is one of those plot points. And how can we get them? And all this and that. It's just to save everybody the effort of trying to work too much into it. It's Jaeger blood rocket fuel. It's Jaeger blood friggin' rocket fuel.
Kaiju blood.
Kaiju blood. I said Jaeger blood. Just like I said protagonists instead of antagonists and all that jazz. But like...
I can edit some of this.
Yeah, it's all good. You might as well leave it in. So, so of course, you know, and this is after like the shit hits the fan. You know, we talked about where we thought the movie might have ended. And of course, there's always the one or two kaiju that get out, and we got to go deal with these guys because, well, they're going to go they're going to wipe out the earth by blowing up Mount Fuji of all bloody mountains. So the big battle with like the big baddie, the baddie that's going to end it all, ends in the name of the Jaeger.
Gypsy Avenger.
Gypsy Avenger, because there's so many cool words we can throw at Cary. Basically beat to shit. And you're right. And that was a point that I completely agree with you. Of all the silly things that we've seen, I know just from watching shuttle launches, from a 12-year-old's grasp of how entry into the atmosphere works, they blast him up into the air, and on his way back, sure enough, The visor for the Jaeger is cracked wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And as he comes in on re-entry and is burning white hot, for some reason the inside of the cockpit is not only completely tempered, and it's not like there's, magical force field like you can throw in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's, the glass is broken. We're driving without a windshield time now.
And they're breathing and talking normal and everything.
Everything's good. They got to talk a little bit louder because of the wind, I suppose.
Yeah, a little bit of breeze.
Yeah. A brisk, I think their hair moves a little bit. But you're right. They really should have been cooked up and charred into their rigs. Like, no questions asked.
Yeah.
That was kind of, in my opinion, and it was one of my favorite questionable science fiction points there. I don't see how, just don't break the visor.
Yeah.
Figure out another way to get Kaylee Sperry's, or Speedy, or however you say her name, get her character into the Jaeger to help out John Boyega. Just figure out another way to get her in there. There's a hatch in the ass. There's a hatch in the head. There's any way to get in there that's not expose them to re-entry of Earth. That is, I guess, that is a very good questionable plot. I mean, of all the ridiculousness, that seemed to me to be you're almost just be getting silly at that point. In a movie about giant monsters and giant robots fighting each other.
Yeah. And then, it's not really a sciencey point, it's the little tiny drones at the end that have not been previously mentioned all of a sudden show up. Yeah,
so to rewind from Death on Re-Entry.
Yeah, I'm working my way back.
There is that point where, the 3 kaiju got out, and now what's left of the Jaeger force, of course, has to go and deal with these 3 kaiju. And 2 are level 4, one's a level 5. Okay, they're shit kickers. Awesome. But then, of course, Geisler decides he's going to let out the drones.
Mm-hmm.
These thousands and thousands of stupid little helper drones from the factory. They're never brought up at any point in time in the beginning.
Nope.
They're never explained how they work. You see, the perspective of the drone constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And by this time, we've established there's kaiju brains that are being melded with, and Omega, whatever the hell, Fury.
Obsidian
Fury. I'll get it right eventually. There was a kaiju brain in there, and I'm just going to throw all the plot points out all at once. So these drones aren't even part kaiju. They're just drones from the factory that he's just all of a sudden hey, look at these toys.
Yeah.
It was almost the equivalent of Batman whipping out shark repellent out of the helicopter for no particular, bad shark repellent. Sure, why the hell not?
Yeah.
So these things swarm the 3 kaiju and the Jaegers. They're going at it. They're just arguing like that couple that everybody meets at the party that should break up, but then they never do. So they're all fighting together. And then these drones just I don't know. Would you say dissect all 3 kaiju and then kind of rebuild them in some weird Lego-style sticky, squishy mess into a giant kaiju?
You could almost go with Human Centipede on this one.
All right, let's go down that road. But I mean, that's what they do. They basically operate on the 3 kaiju, and I thought, oh shit, they're going to heal the kaiju. They're just going to make them all it's the classic video game bad guy that all of a sudden gets his full bar of health back.
Yeah.
No, we just smash the kaiju together and create monster kaiju.
I'm pretty sure from the first 2 movies, this movie and the first one, any kaiju that was kind of ripped open, they kind of died. So I don't know how this one got apart and then put together.
Yeah, this one this little plot point kind of caught me off guard because I remember the first one and I don't remember if I had seen anything like that.
No Franken kaiju.
Anything at all. I would have been yeah, totes a thing they do.
Yeah.
And instead of 2, it's 3 this time. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But just that in itself was just that it's little things like that kind of pop up here and there and here and there where it's just maybe we should have established that stuff beforehand.
Yeah, at least mention the drones and then what they can do, if they have some sort of bio application.
Yeah.
Although they're the size of a small, Toyota Camry, but...
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're basically a pickup truck with tentacles.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't know that 3/4 of the way through a movie. Again, I can only expect so much from this movie.
Yeah.
Is a good time to keep introducing new ideas. Like, let's get the ideas out within the first half, and let's run with it for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and if they end up having a third one, I don't see that being a plot point they bring back in as these drones, because it just seemed like a writer's tool just to kind of keep the plot moving.
Yeah, because one Jaeger could take out one kaiju.
Yeah.
A bunch of Jaegers could take out a bunch of kaijus, even if they are the newer, younger pilots. From a writer's standpoint, yeah, if all of a sudden all these younger Jaeger pilots won the battle because, hey, we're all main characters, yeah, that would be kind of sleazy writing. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly better writing to say, oh, and then they melded together.
Yeah.
Like, I get the Voltron approach, and I dig it. I really do.
Oh, yeah, like a Kaiju Megazord.
Yeah.
Or Kaiju Frankenstein.
But even if, like...
Kaiju. I don't know why I went with Human Centipede for my first choice. That was kind of weird.
That was kind of weird. But, like, if all of a sudden the Jaegers started, like, to form like, Ultron, would... why not? Because, hey, shit, let's just throw that out there. I just...
You're getting a phone call tomorrow to come right for episode... or the third movie of the trilogy. That's going to happen now.
If they do that in the third movie, I'm going to be super pissed I didn't get paid for that one. But, like, it was, to me, it was a little...
It's definitely because Boyega's listening to the podcast.
Yeah, definitely, right? If there's anybody's opinion he cares about, it would be mine. But, like, to me, it really was kind of like, not sloppy writing, but, like...
It was lazy.
A little lazy, a little hacky.
Yeah.
For, again, a movie about giant robots fighting giant monsters. It was hacky for that.
Well, I don't know if you looked at it, but the director... Is it Director Denight or something like that?
Denight sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, so the director, he also did some of the writing. He primarily does TV series. So, I'm not 100% certain, but I think this might be one of his first big forays into the...
In saying that, I could see where he would want to just spontaneously wrap it up like you would an hour-long TV series.
Yeah, like he worked in Smallville, I think Angel, Buffy, that kind of thing. So you could see little kind of elements from that.
Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is the movie where the good guys make it, because if the bad guys made it, then there wouldn't be an Earth to make a third movie about. But yeah, it was kind of silly. It started in the end, like when we talked about the not burning up on re-entry and the mass assembly of a giant kaiju that just wreaks havoc on everything. It kind of, as much fun as the whole entire movie is, it kind of starts to get, I want to use the word ridiculous, even though it's such a silly thing to say about this kind of movie, but it does get ridiculous at a certain point in time.
Yeah, a little over the top.
Yeah. I mean, over the top for a movie that is designed to be over the top, but when your writing starts to get silly over the top in a movie that is not silly over the top, it is kind of like a, they have their General Patton moment, rallying the troops, and we're going to go out and win one for the Gipper and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But you take that mentality, that feeling, that writing style to, and then they all got together into one giant monster, and they're coming in from the atmosphere where there's little or no oxygen, and they're just chilling. They're good to go, and lo and behold, this doesn't work or that doesn't work, but okay, we make it out in the end alive, fine.
Yeah.
The writing, it's not that the movie fell apart in the end, so much as it just rushed itself. Like, holy shit, nobody wants to see this for too long. Let's wrap it up, guys.
Yeah. Questions are going to start popping up. Let's finish it.
Yeah.
And so you take this very high-tech piece of fighting equipment that's designed to fight these monsters, and you put it in its most sophisticated application of, let's just throw it up really high and then have it come down really hard.
A piece of sophisticated machinery that is not designed for the pressure of re-entry.
Yeah.
Just, again, my limited science knowledge would have fallen apart.
Yeah.
just from the insane heat, friction. I mean, they do kind of have alarms going off about maximum suit pressure overload and all that sort of jazz. But I mean, again, there was a hole in the head. That head should have been ripped off and torn to shreds and burnt up on re-entry.
Yeah, it should have been catching some resistance.
You know what? If they had plotted the course of the launch and then been able to figure out the trajectory and gotten out before any of that happened, the head could have exploded and we still could have had a great day. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, the end there of how they got back up with what little rocket they had and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, you needed somebody in there. I get it all. I do get it. But I think just like a little bit more automated trajectory would have kind of, or at least wrapped up the re-entry problem.
Yeah, and also the other point, I guess, with the whole re-entry thing is how they were rescued by jumping into Scrapper, and how Scrapper was able to jump off the back, going the same velocity, and was able to skip across the ground in his little ball form, and everybody's okay.
A teeny tiny Jaeger that was not assembled in any sort of professional manner by, are you giving her 16?
Yeah, let's go with 16.
By a 16-year-old that is in no way, shape, or form the density or strength of a normal Jaeger. They all just climb into it like a little escape hatch because all of a sudden that's automated.
Yeah.
It is...
No seatbelts. They're just holding on for dear life as they bounce off the ground.
Yeah, and hitting the earth at however many hundreds of miles per second, and then just, we're just good. We're not spread across the inside like Nutella.
Nutella.
It just, again, fun movie.
Yeah. But
just kind of like, in the end, just like sprays all over the place. Like, it's just like, it doesn't know what it wants to do until the last scene.
Yeah.
Then suddenly it wants to have a third movie.
And probably my last point I'll bring up, even though like it sounds like I'm just ragging on it, I did enjoy the movie. It was a fun movie. But my last point is just how convenient it was that Tokyo was just completely unoccupied at the time, right? I hope. Please God.
So they kind of addressed this, right? Yeah. So when Angry Red Fury there shows up.
Getting closer.
Yep. Everybody starts running into the kaiju shelters then?
Yeah.
Or
I guess they did have kaiju shelters from the first one.
Yeah, they still had that because and that was something that they had in the first one. So
yeah. When
everybody was running into the kaiju shelters in Tokyo, not a shock to me. That was just like, oh yeah, I remember those from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it was actually when the kaiju did show up was when the shelters were being used. At one point in time, one of the characters, don't even care who said it, did bring up the fact that everybody in Tokyo was either dead or had made it into the kaiju shelters.
Okay,
that are like
point.
The little Godzilla toll booths are like sprinkled all over Tokyo, and they're just so damn used to getting stomped on by giant monsters. There's just like, yeah, just go over there. We got one on there. They're like phone booths from like the 80s and 90s. There's just every street corner has one.
Yeah, there's full vending machines and stuff in them.
Yeah, right. So they do kind of address that.
Okay, yeah. I guess, yeah, they do. My point, though, what I'm getting at is the fact of the collateral damage that they do so willingly and...
Oh, no, Tokyo is wiped out. Like, yeah. At this point in time, you have to assume that Tokyo just has prefab Tokyo. They just rebuild... because the movie doesn't take place so far after the first one that it's just like, oh my God, it's like there was never a war here because it looks like there was never a war here, give or take a few skeletons all over the place.
Yeah.
But then a lot of shit hits the fan, and then Tokyo is just like ruined again.
Yeah. And like their one tactic is use their little gravity gun and just keep hitting the kaiju with more buildings.
Yeah. A weapon that's designed to remove matter from wherever and ball it up into this gravity ball and just smash the kaiju. And a cool weapon.
It is cool.
Cool weapon. I mean, you see it like collecting cars and picking it up into like this dense mass. It's also ripping buildings off its foundation. It's all over the place with this.
Yeah, you think it'd be more effective at just using it on the kaiju.
You would think that, yeah, exactly. You should be able to just like crush a kaiju under the gravitational beam that they throw out there, right? Again, it's another one of those. Oh well, it would just be. It was like in the first one when Nova Genesis, whatever the hell its name is, whips out the giant sword and cuts the final kaiju in half. After the final brawl, the last like big monster brawl, suddenly he whips out this giant sword that he has and just slices and dices the kaiju. It's like, well, you really should have... it was like Voltron. Just start with the sword. Just go right to the sword. And it's done. You know, Power Rangers, just go right to the giant robots. And let's not even piss fart around because you're just going to have the shit kicked out of you. Then he's going to get big. Then you got to call your robots. Just call your robots.
They did a good job with the new Power Rangers where they didn't know that it combined to make a giant robot. So
see,
that was good.
But I still haven't seen that. So I'll thank you for not spoiling it for me.
Oh, well, it's not a spoiling point. You need to get on watching it, though.
There is a list of stuff that I am way behind on, although I am 2 episodes into Letterkenny, so I mean, that's a thing.
Like season 1?
Season 4.
Okay.
You dick.
All right. I still have to watch the Easter special.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, back to again what we're talking about. Good movie.
Yeah.
Like fun movie. Like it's not. I wasn't disappointed that we saw that movie. I was disappointed why we saw that movie. But again, that's what happens when you leave Steve to order tickets online, and that is why he's Blair Witched into the corner for this podcast. But it's good fanfare. It would have made for, I think, a better summertime movie.
Yeah.
Not that you could compete with a lot of the movies coming out this summer, but it is kind of like a summertime movie-ish.
Yeah, it's a good filler between Black Panther and Avengers, I guess.
Yeah, if you're looking just for something like fun to go out and see, it's a date movie if you're with somebody that likes that kind of stuff. It is not a date movie if you're, say, like with my partner. She is not going to have a good day with that. But again, it's a good, just go chill in the theater, eat some popcorn, sip a pop.
Switch the brain off.
Turn the brain off and then just kind of coast for a little while. Like it's not, it really is just kind of visual bubblegum to just kind of gnaw on and enjoy.
Yeah. Plays
good on a big screen. Giant monsters, giant robots always look good on a big screen and sound great with giant digital speakers making you partially deaf for the ride home.
Yeah. Well, I have no more points about this movie. I probably sound like I hated it, but no, I actually enjoyed it.
It's a really, really fun movie to see. If you pick it apart, like if you go to like Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, I think they gave it 44%. I think the audience score was like 53%. Like, I don't know what 47% thought they were going to go see when they went to see this.
Yeah. But
it is what it is. I mean, it's
47% was probably the girlfriends that got dragged to the movie.
This is true. They are vengeful creatures. But like it is. If you walk into this movie, and we kind of talked about this when we reviewed Bright, Will Smith being Will Smith.
That's Bright.
You can only expect so much from certain movies.
Mm-hmm.
You can only expect so much from a movie where the goal is to really just watch the... I'm not one for the new Transformer movies, but I mean, I do enjoy watching them be Transformers and robots smashing each other.
Yeah.
Everything else is just mindless filler that I could do without.
Yeah.
For Pacific Rim, I'm there for the robots. I'm there for the fun. I like John Boyega. I find that he's a very oddly shaped dude, but I like him. You know, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, he seems like he's a lot of lower body.
He's just such a weird shaped guy. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, John Boyega is a great actor in the Star Wars movies. He delivers a pretty standard, decent performance in here.
It's a very different role for him, and it's good.
And Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood, there he delivers a performance that you would expect from like the Captain America-esque, in it for the team, in it for the world, and for everything kind of guy. Like it is.
Yeah.
It really, their acting is all pretty much paint by numbers. Like, you're not going to see anything that blows you away. Visually, it's a pretty fun movie.
Yeah.
I think that's what we really kind of went there for, was just like a special effects not schlockfest, but we got a special effects schlockfest.
Oh yeah.
And it was fun. It was a fun time to watch. And nobody should take this review as us shitting all over Pacific Rim. Take it as two guys that enjoyed the movie, but offer a solid review because it's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. It's a movie that you watch for fun. And not all movies, like we've said before in other episodes, are we doing it for like serious, man, this has got to be a serious movie. Like there are movies for that, and this is not one of them.
No, it's all about managing expectations.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There's only so much you should go looking for with certain movies. Mm-hmm. And to go looking for more, like you said, you set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people find themselves going in to see certain movies. Like if you go see a DC movie, you can't expect to see a Marvel movie.
No.
Or vice versa. Like if you're going to shit all over Marvel because it's not as dark as DC, like the hell were you expecting to see?
Yeah.
And same with this. Like what did you, if you're going to give Pacific Rim a bad review, ask yourself, well, what were you really expecting to go see when you bought your ticket for this movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was not shocked by anything I saw. Got a couple of good laughs though. A couple of really, really chuckly parts in there.
Oh yeah, entertaining. Well, that'll wrap up for this week's episode. As always, if you have any comments, questions, if you want us to talk about anything in particular on the podcast, just send us a tweet, messages on Facebook, Instagram. You can find us on our Reddit page for Nerdium. Or you could always just hit us up at the old-fashioned way at nerdiumpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely, and we did bring back Geek of the Week, so if you want to throw your name out there for a show idea, we'd love to give you a shout-out.
Yeah, the guys at 30-something Podcast gave us a good one a few episodes ago, so
yeah,
if you'd like us to mention you, give us something good.
Yeah, absolutely, and in the coming weeks, I don't know when we're going to post this episode, but I do have an appearance coming up on Bacon and Eggs soon.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing a sit-down with them, so my voice will be getting out there more and more. If only to deliver that sweet audio chocolate that I throw out there.
All right. Till next time, guys.
Yeah, everybody have fun.